bbc.co.uk/news. A retired police superintendent who won £375,000 in damages after being branded a paedophile by newspapers has been jailed today for 12 years for historical sex crimes against 2 young boys. Gordon Anglesea, who's 79, was found guilty last month at Mould Crown Court of indecently assaulting the boys in the 1980s. Sian Lloyd is in Mould for us this evening. Sian.
Well, as soon as sentence was passed, Gordon Anglesea's legal team announced that they would be appealing against his convictions. For 25 years, he has maintained that all claims made against him have been lies. Tonight, he's on his way to prison. My report contains some flash photography. A kiss goodbye as Gordon Anglesea arrived at court to be sentenced. The former police superintendent denied allegations of sexual abuse for more than a quarter of a century.
Have you got anything to say to your victims, Mr. Anglesea?
Today, he made no apology to his victims. The 79-year-old was arrested 3 years ago by National Crime Agency officers.
I deny any sexual assault or sexually inappropriate behaviour.
During his trial, one man described how Gordon Anglesea had indecently assaulted him at a house near Mould. He abused his other victim in the changing rooms of a Home Office attendance centre, where teenagers who'd got into trouble were sent on Saturdays. Paul Godfrey gave evidence at the trial. He described how Gordon Anglesea dealt with him.
You know, he was the boss. He was in charge all the time and very intimidating, frightened everybody. Everybody was frightened about him. Today, it's a sweet moment.
This wasn't the first time that Gordon Anglesea had come before the courts. In the early 1990s, a number of media organisations, including the satirical magazine Private Eye, published allegations about Gordon Anglesea made by former residents at a children's home. He sued for libel and won his case. He was paid £375,000 in damages.
I have been vindicated, my reputation is restored, the money is the immaterial part of this. I wanted that vindication and that clearance, and I've got it.
But now it's his victims who've been vindicated. Sentencing Gordon Anglesea to 12 years in prison, Judge Geraint Walters told him your conduct was part of a miserable existence which created these men. The court had earlier been told that they turned to drugs and alcohol to try to block out the memory of what had happened to them. Tonight, the editor of Private Eye reflected on the Gordon Anglesea story.
It ended in someone's suicide for us, one of our witnesses, who we'd persuaded to come forward. So it was a very grim time, and I don't gain any great satisfaction by the fact that events have eventually proved that Anglesea was indeed a paedophile.
For years, Gordon Anglesea had commanded respect, but he'd abused his authority and position. The 79-year-old tonight begins his lengthy prison term. Sian Lloyd, BBC News, Mould Crown Court.
A makeshift camp housing more than 3,000 migrants in Paris has been cleared.